right, welcome everybody to another episode of Brandon Poole Elevation. Today I'm here with Connor Gillivan, and he's been creating businesses since he was 16 years old. And he's created two very successful businesses doing over $1 million in sales. One is called FreeeuP and the other is called Portlight. And I'll let Connor tell you more about that later. But yeah, he's got a book called Free Up Your Business, correct?
Yep. Free Up Your Business, 50 Secrets to Bootstrap $1 Million Companies.
Awesome. All right. And I'll let you tell our audience more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
For sure.
It's nice to be here and kind of share my story with everyone. As I was telling you, I'm originally from upstate New York. I lived in Florida for about 5 years, and then I actually live out in Denver, Colorado now. So I've bounced over the country a little bit as I've been building these businesses and growing as an entrepreneur. And my story really starts back when I was in high school. My first job was working with my cousin who owned his own landscaping business. And I was really opened up to the idea of entrepreneurship when I saw him, go from nothing to creating a business that he was able to build a family around and support himself and buy a home and really run his own life the way he wanted to. And from that point forward, I always wanted to run my own business and go forward in that fashion rather than working for someone else and trying to figure out how to please, a boss or a corporation that I may want to go work for. So that was really early on. Like you said, in the past about 8 years, I've started two businesses. The first company I started while I was in college, and we were mainly selling on the Amazon marketplace. Mm-hmm. We were finding brands in the toy, baby, and home goods industries, and we were teaming up with them to help them sell more on Amazon. This was about 8 years ago when Amazon was really just blowing up and more moms and dads were starting to see the opportunity to buy from them rather than going into your brick and mortar store. I did that for about 4 or 5 years and learned a lot in the process. I'm sure we'll run into some of those stories as we continue to chat here. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned was how to hire people to run the business. Mm-hmm. I think as entrepreneurs, we all run into a spot when there's too much on our plate. There's too many tasks to do. You're working 8 to 10 hours per day, but you really could be working 20 to 22 hours per day.
Right.
So I had to learn how to hire people. And in that process, I really learned about the power of outsourcing and of working with freelancers in the United States and also around the world. And that's what led to the creation of my second business, which is called FreeeuP. And that's exactly what we do. We interview and we recruit and vet freelancers. We pick the top 1% of all those people that apply. We allow them into our network, and then we give business owners access to those freelancers so they can hire them and build their business faster.
That's cool, man. So how did you discover Amazon? Like you were saying, like what, was it someone that introduced you to it, or did you just happen to come across it?
Yeah. So it was actually my business partner who found it first. He was kind of on the grind looking for his first entrepreneurial idea.
Right. A good venture.
Yeah, exactly. And he was really frustrated by purchasing textbooks at the beginning of each semester and then selling them back to the bookstore for way lower of prices.
Right.
So he started looking for options online of if he could sell them for a higher price than what the bookstore was offering. Mm-hmm. And when he found Amazon, he then started going around to all of our friends and other students on campus and asking if he could buy their textbooks back rather than the bookstore.
Right.
So that was first how we discovered it. We were buying textbooks and then pick packing and shipping them out to people through Amazon.
That's funny. Yeah, I know the prices of textbooks are just astronomical sometimes. And sometimes you don't even need the textbooks either.
Exactly. I know. When I was in college, my first question to any professor was if I actually needed to buy the textbook.
Right.
And a lot of them will honestly say that you don't. And as long as you take notes, you're going to pass the course. So that's always a good question to ask.
Right. Definitely. When you were like starting off in the drop shipping and things like that, when was the point when you realized you needed to start hiring more people to do the jobs?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, we started this while we were still in school. So we were full-time students. Both him and I were also a part of a fraternity. And of course, you have a social life while you're in college as well. So
Yeah.
there was limited time that we could fit in running the business while doing all of these other things. And so I think it was maybe 6 months into the business that we started to hire some friends to help us do small tasks that we had created within the business.
Mm,
We just ran out of time. We had figured out how to find the products and list them and then fulfill the orders, but we just couldn't handle it all ourselves. So we
yeah, it's
started
time
to hire
consuming.
others. Yep.
Okay. What did you look for in the people that you were hiring?
Great question. So the things that we always looked for were values that aligned with our own values and kind of what
Mhm.
we believed in. So for this first business, it was very much focused on the company culture and how we ran things. And
Right.
so at first, it very much mimicked, the college lifestyle. Like I was saying, we were young, we were having fun, but we were also trying to build a business in a professional way. And so we went to the friends that we knew took school seriously. They had a good upbringing, and they also had the extra time and the motivation to want to try to help the business.
Hmm.
And so that was really the key things we looked for. And I mean, a lot of our friends wanted to eventually work for us, but we didn't just let everyone work for us because it would become mayhem. We
Yeah.
always had a small interview process and made sure they were serious about it because like I said, we were trying to build a good business, not just have fun.
Hmm. Did you ever, when you were hiring people and would come have people to work for you, did you ever come to a situation where you felt like you could be doing the job better, like by yourself than with them?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a feeling I think
Yeah.
you'll get as a business owner because most of the time you're the first one to have completed the process. So initially, you know it best.
Hmm.
So yeah, there were definitely frustrations where some people just weren't getting it. It took them longer to learn, and we could have done it a lot better. But you have to work with that because at the end of the day, you can't just take everything back onto your plate.
Yeah, definitely. Um, we were talking about some of your key points earlier. Um, so what do you think a strategy to outsource and automate this for, let's say, just any business in general, but what would that look like?
Yeah, sure. So the advice we usually give, and I mean, we could even use you running this podcast as an example.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you at some point have to go through and make small cuts to the videos that you're recording,
Yeah.
and then get it up onto the website, upload it to iTunes, wherever else you have it live.
Hmm.
So all of those tasks, if you don't necessarily want to do them, there's people out there that could help you perform those tasks so you could stay focused on other aspects of your business, whether it's trying to get more speaking gigs, or just running the interviews themselves, or
Right.
reaching out to other people that you could interview. Those are all different things that you could find freelancers for.
Yeah. What would you say to, people just starting out, they're making a little bit of money here and there, but not enough to outsource anything yet.
Hmm.
What do you think is some of the strategies there to actually get to the point where you can outsource things?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing is you always want to start slow. So
Hmm.
um, once you get to that point, you can start very slow. Hire someone for an hour a week, and that's just the extra hour that you have yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but as you're as you're working toward that point, I mean, from my experience, it just comes down to a lot of hustle. You have to put in the hours, you have to put in the hard work, you have to sell yourself, you have to sell your business, reach
Hmm.
out to as many people as you can, try to find mentors that are gonna take you under their wing and introduce you to other people. It's just a lot of hustling at the beginning, for sure.
Yeah. I know. I'm a college student, so it's always tough, trying to set aside time for schoolwork, which is also important, and then finding time to do other stuff. And a lot of times just ends up coming down to late nights, But
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's always nice having people to help you out and people that support you and will introduce you to more people that have an impact on you and can help you out.
Yeah,
So
you just gotta keep your eye on the prize too. If you know you want to get to a certain point, just keep that in the back of your mind, keep grinding away at it, and it eventually all comes to fruition. But you just can't get frustrated if it doesn't work out as quickly as you want it to.
right. What do you think has been one of the biggest blind spots in your business, and or both of them?
Hmm.
And maybe it was the hiring thing, but maybe something else too
Yeah.
that you're now aware of.
Yeah, sure. So when you say that, it reminds me of the first business. And it's not a one particular thing, but it's more of when you're viewing a business, how you approach it and how you go about building it. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest oversights that we had with the first business was just risk in general. So we were so excited about building the business, and we were seeing great growth, and it was a lot of fun to hire people and build up a team, that we weren't always looking at the ways that the business could be hurt in the long run or even in the short run.
Yeah.
Just an example, and it's hard to think about this because Amazon's so great and it helps a lot of people run their business, but Amazon at the end of the day has control over who sells and who doesn't sell on the marketplace.
Yeah.
So that was a risk I would say we didn't always realize when we were first building the business.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the second business, we're meeting on a regular basis and trying to think of those top risks. What could take us down in this year? What could take us down in the next month? And how can we mitigate that risk so that it isn't an issue for us and we continue to grow?
Nice. What and building the two successful businesses, what do you think has been some of the patterns, like the strategies, successful strategies of creating a wealthy business?
Yeah, of course. So the first, and it's more of again a mindset, but
Yeah.
it's taking a trial and error approach. So with the start of any business, you never really know what's going to succeed. It's hard to tell, right?
Yeah.
So for us, we were always just trying different things. With the first business, we didn't know what products would sell well.
Mm-hmm.
We found textbooks and they worked to a certain extent, but it wasn't like an absolute home run. And so over the first year of the business, we tried out all different things. We sold some video games. We sold some baby products. We sold some clothing. We sold, some home goods.
Just trying to find what works.
Exactly. You just try to find what works and try to see what people are really liking.
Mm-hmm.
And the same went for the second business. When we first started, we didn't really know who was going to catch on to the idea the fastest. And so we approached a bunch of different markets. We went after Amazon sellers. We then tried some eBay sellers. We went and looked at other softwares that people were using and tried to target those to get customers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're starting a business and in that first year, it's a lot of exploration. It's a lot of being open to changing what your initial idea was.
Definitely. I know when I was experimenting with the fulfillment by Amazon over a year ago with a friend,
Mm-hmm.
we were just going through a bunch of products and it's just a trial and error, like you were saying,
Right.
just trying to find the one thing that works and you can make some money off of. And then, eventually that's not going to last forever. So then you got to keep finding new products to experiment with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always running a business is always going through a lot of changes, and you always have to be on your toes and ready to roll with those punches.
Mm-hmm. You have to be open to change, because if you don't, then you're just going to die.
Yeah.
Business will die. Let's see. Next question. This was one of the key points that you were mentioning earlier, but what do you think the main focus of the business owner should be? Besides just the small detail things that it's easy to get caught up in, because I know I do. I get caught up in it all the time.
Yeah, of course. So from my opinion, the business owner should be always focused on growth and expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that means many different things depending on your business. For the business that I'm running now, my goal is always to, one, find new businesses that are looking to hire freelancers. And then two, find new freelancers that are very talented and that are looking to take on new clients. If we can always bring those two new types of customers into our marketplace, it continues to grow and make the business better. Similarly for you, you should be focused on finding the best possible people that you could interview, so that people are very attracted to your podcast. You shouldn't necessarily be doing the nitty gritty day-to-day things. It would be great if you had someone that could be helping you out do that.
Right.
And same with your speaking. If that's that's your top thing, you should be trying to use your hours as much as possible to do the speaking. Maybe have someone that's helping you reach out to people to try to make the relationships. Right.
Looking back at, let's say, your 20-year-old self that was just kind of getting started in entrepreneurship on a bigger scale, what would your advice be to your younger self?
Yeah. I would tell myself to let go of things faster. I held on to a lot of work when I was younger, and kind of what we were talking about earlier, I never really trusted anyone to do it at the same level that I was.
Yeah.
And so I just ended up with mountains and mountains of work on a daily basis. And I mean, I would, like you were saying, it takes long nights, and I spent plenty of nights in the library switching between studying for a test and then fulfilling orders or listing new products or whatever it was that the business needed. So I think I would look back and I'd tell myself, make sure that you create good processes and then find really smart people that can run them for you, because that's what's gonna allow you to grow faster.
Yeah. Where do you think you see yourself in maybe 5 to 10 years?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, it is for anybody.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm really committed to this company that we're working on now, FreeeuP.
Yeah.
So I really do see myself still running this business in about 5 years. Our goal as business partners is to become one of the larger freelancer marketplaces out there. So it's really our focus right now, just to keep pushing, keep growing, and making an amazing product for everyone. So I'm hoping that we'll still be on that path in that 5 to 10 year range.
Yeah, for sure. I hope all the best for you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Tell us some of the key points from your book, Free Up Your Business, and
Yeah,
tell our audience a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so the book was born out of an idea between, again, me and my business partner. I wrote it last year. We published it last year in April. And for about a year, we were coming up with ideas of how we could put together a book that would bring together all of the lessons that we had learned from the first 7 or 8 years of working together. And so that's really what the book is all about. The 50 secrets are 50 lessons we've learned about running a business, handling the financials, hiring a team, setting up great customer service, and then creating good sales strategies. And each 50 lesson has a accompanying story from our businesses. So it might be from Portlight, it might be from FreeeuP, or some of our experiences even before those businesses. So that's kind of what the book is all about.
That's cool, man. And for our listeners, where can they find the book?
Yeah, of course. So you can find the book on Amazon. If you just search Free Up Your Business, it'll show up there. And then we're also selling it through the FreeeuP website. So if you go to freeup.com/freeupyourbusiness, you'll also be able to get access to the book either through Amazon or through our own site.
Cool. Awesome. What do you want to be remembered for as an individual, but also as your business? And let's say maybe 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, sure. So I've always had a really clear purpose after a certain point in my life. So the thing that I always want to be remembered for is making a difference in people's lives through the companies that I build. And so that can be interpreted in many ways, but I'm always looking to build services or products that help people achieve their goals faster.
Awesome. Tell us maybe 1 or 2 stories of key points throughout your business career that have really, you felt, molded you and you really learned some major lessons there?
Yeah, for sure. So with the first business, like I said, we built up a pretty large team. We had about 50 people on our team at a certain point. And we reached a point in the business where we had to go through a round of layoffs. So I personally had to lay off a good amount of people from that team. And I mean, that's a really hard thing to do, to tell people that they don't have a job any longer.
Right.
And so that really opened my eyes just to how responsible you need to be when building a business, how smart you need to be with your financials, and that at any time there can be roadblocks along the way that can stop your growth and stop your trajectory. So I mean, that really opened my eyes and made me look at running a business a bit differently. And I would say a bit more cautiously than I did before that event happened.
Yeah. Man, I just had a question and it left me. Oh man, it left me. If I remember it, I'll come back to it. But
okay, cool.
We'll go ahead and enter the lightning round, and if it comes back to me, I'll throw it back up there. But first question for the lightning round: what's a book that you would recommend to others, and why? And it can be your book if you want it to be.
No, I won't use that. So a book I read recently that I really loved is called The Shoe Dog. And it's by Phil Knight, who is the CEO and founder of Nike. And it's written by him, and it's all about the story of how he came up with the idea of Nike and then all of the struggles he went through to build the company. So a really cool story of a brand that, I mean, I'm sure everyone who's listening knows of. And it's really cool to kind of get into the mind of this guy and see how he built it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember reading the book about Sam Walton, the guy who created Walmart. And that was really interesting, just getting inside the mind of these guys who just create huge, successful businesses and corporations.
Yeah, that's an awesome book. It's crazy how like long ago Walmart started and how he built it into what it is today. It's pretty wild.
Right. I remember I was reading part of it, and it was just talking about how he would go into these other stores and marts or markets and just look at how everything was displayed on the shelves, the links of the shelves, like everything, and just replicating that. And you can basically kind of like, relate it from that to e-commerce and just looking at what works and emulating what works and what doesn't work and finding what works best for you.
Yeah, he was a smart guy.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Yes. So every night I plan for my following day. I pull up my calendar. I tend to have a lot of meetings and phone calls and things along those lines. And then I also have goals that I try to achieve each week. And so every night I plan out my following day, broken down to like each hour that I have available. And I fill it in with the different tasks that I want to get done. And I find that gives me a purpose every day to wake up to. And it keeps me running throughout the day and allows me not to get distracted.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I do as well. I plan out my week and also each day and just create a checklist of things to do, because it's just when I don't do that, I don't feel like doing anything, but having that to check off, especially, it just feels so good to check everything off.
It keeps you honest.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What's one thing that you do to invest in yourself now that you have a little more time, what to look for in people and hiring? How do you invest in yourself and set aside time to do that?
Yeah, of course. I love reading. I invest in my own education through reading books. And I do it pretty often. So my goal is always to read over 20 books a year. So I'm always trying to plow through new books, and most of them are about business or about entrepreneurs or self-improvement. So I'm always trying to learn more. Yeah,
I remember last year was my first year setting a goal of how many books I wanted to read. And I think last year it was maybe 2 books a month, so 24 books.
Nice.
And I think I met I'm pretty sure I met the goal. And then this year my plan is to read like maybe 30, 32 books.
Nice.
And but I love to read. It's so much fun. I like I set aside time for like the school reading I have, but then also I set aside time for the reading that I want to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes school doesn't give you the best books to read.
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're
No,
not.
yeah. Exactly.
Who are your top 3 role models?
Sure. My parents, they raised me like a champ. They did a great job. Elon Musk, love what he does. Love his creativity and how fast he can learn stuff and how far he takes concepts. And then Jeff Bezos. I mean, I'm an Amazon entrepreneur. That was kind of how I got into everything. And he's just a beast. He's so consistent. He's been doing it for years, and he has a very clear head on his shoulders.
Definitely. You're talking about your parents. Tell us a little bit more about your childhood and maybe some of the lessons they taught you there.
Sure. So I grew up, I have an older sister. I was always pretty active in sports, but the biggest thing that my parents always stressed was education. Education always came first. Do well in school, make sure you're always learning. My mom was a publisher, so she was a big reader. I think that influenced me a lot. And then my dad was an engineer, so I kind of got a little bit more of that mathematical mind from him. But yeah, it was always just work hard, respect everyone that you run into and that you end up working with, and keep learning at all times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid answer. What's your definition of success?
So it's similar to the question that you asked me before about like, what is my kind of purpose in life?
Yeah. What do you want to be remembered for?
Right. So, so for me, I mean, success for me is not about money. It's never been about that. I don't think that money or material possessions really get you anywhere in life. They can make you feel good for a small period of time, but success is really making your visions come true. I've always had goals when I was younger of being an entrepreneur and being able to live my own life through the businesses that I build. And I've been able to see that as a success. I now have new visions for the company that I'm working on today. So when I can reach those, then that's success for me. It's really making that dream reality that you have become your real life.
Yeah. You were talking about money not being everything. I remember reading your bio, and it was talking about you went to South Africa.
Yeah, when I was a sophomore in college, I interned for a company called Think Impact, and their whole philosophy was building social businesses in impoverished areas of South Africa.
Now, what does that look like exactly? A social business there?
Yeah, so a social business could be defined as a business that is making money, but it's also giving some sort of good back to the community that it's a part of.
Okay.
A very simple example is, let's say in one of these communities I was in, a group of women who are mainly doing house chores and cooking and cleaning and doing things along these lines. They get together and they create a gardening co-op. So They put together a field, they start cultivating vegetables and other plants, and then they start selling that to the community. So that business makes money, they get to do something outside of their normal duties, and then the community also gets fresh food. So that's kind of like your core concept of a social business.
That's awesome. I remember reading those social businesses. I was just wondering what that looks like in South Africa, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So that was a really cool experience. And I got to go back 2 years later to run the program, which was a great experience as well.
How do you think that experience helped you in America?
Yeah. I mean, it opened my eyes to just a completely different way of life.
For sure.
I would have never experienced that had I not done those trips. And I think it also matured my mind a lot to understand what is important in life. Because I mean, in college, you're pushed in a lot of different ways. You can be, influenced by professors to want to go into higher education. You can be influenced by, trying to get a big corporate job and getting paid the most money. There's a lot of shiny things out there that can be put in your face. And that experience just kind of humbled me down and made sure that I was doing what was important to me.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in your day-to-day life and just kind of forget about what the rest of the world is going through and what it's like. But it's just like, you obviously know, but any successful person, truly successful person, is always focused on giving and how they can add more value to other people's lives.
Definitely.
Being truly successful to me is giving and being wealthy. I mean, like physically, mentally, financially, spiritually,
Sure.
all around. So definitely giving back is a huge part of everything. What would be your parting piece of advice to our listeners?
Yeah, sure. So given that a lot of your listeners are probably in that college or maybe around your age or looking to become an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
My piece of advice is to set a 1-year goal at the beginning of every year, and write it down somewhere so that you can see it every single day, and make sure you're always taking steps towards it. That was something I learned from reading a book, and I've been doing it for years, and it really makes a huge difference. You may not think it will because it's just a very simple thing, but when you fixate your mind on one certain thing and you just keep grinding away at it each day, it eventually becomes your daily life. So that would be my one piece of advice.
Yeah, and find something that motivates you and you're passionate about, because I remember Tony
Definitely.
Robbins, he talks about how it's not that we're lazy, it's just that we don't have goals that motivate us.
Sure.
So just find that one thing or a few small things, not small, but huge, few
Yeah.
small things that that really inspire you, and just one overall goal that you want to achieve. And for your year, for 10 years, a decade, for your whole entire life, I think is truly important.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So how can we connect with you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty active, or I'm the most active on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you my handles so that everyone can kind of check it out and get in
I'll
touch
link
with
it
me
up
if
in
they
the show
want.
notes.
Yep. And then I'll also send you over my email address, and then also a link that if anyone wants to set up a phone call with me, I'm happy to chat with anyone. I love talking to young entrepreneurs and kind of learning about what their goals are and seeing if there's any way I can help.
Real quick, I remember one question I had earlier.
Yeah, shoot.
For any person that wants to get involved in entrepreneurship and business, what do you think is going to be the next big thing that's really on the rise, you feel?
Good question. I mean, an obvious answer is cryptocurrency if you want to take a pretty big risk. That's a really good question. What is the next big thing? Yeah, cryptocurrency is definitely, I think that's got to be my answer. I don't know. That's the hottest thing on the market right now. I would say it's the most risky. But if you get in early and you could figure out a way to complement that industry and how it's growing, you're probably going to find some quick success. Could it blow up in your face? Possibly, because it's a pretty volatile market right now. But I would say that's where I would encourage people to check out.
Is that what you were looking into currently?
I am not personally.
Okay.
I'm learning about it, and I'm staying educated on what's happening. But I haven't gotten involved in investing or building any services for it yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of like where you are, just being in the know about it and
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
it's complex too. So you got to spend some time to understand even what the whole technology is and how it's working before you get into it. But it's very interesting.
I remember I was reading a statistic a while back, and it said if you'd invested $100 into Bitcoin in 2012, you would have over $100 million now.
Oh man,
That's
that's
just
crazy.
that's insane.
I mean, 2012, I would say most people didn't even know what a Bitcoin was, right?
Right. But the thing is, it's still early too. Like,
Yep.
you're not too late to get in on it still and learn about it.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So for all those listening that are looking for something to get into, check out Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain, and get in the know about that. And you said we'll send over the how to connect with you, your handles on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I'll link those up in the show notes. And do you have anything else to add, Connor?
Yeah, I'll also send you over an ebook version of my book. Anyone that's listening can have it for free. You guys can enjoy it.
Awesome.
I'll kind of do that just for everyone that listens.
And if you want to pay for it, it is on Amazon, right?
Exactly.
Hard copy. Awesome. All right, Connor, thank you for being with us. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you and just to thank you for who you are, for setting example for entrepreneurs everywhere, for college students. You know, most college students aren't really looking to get involved in business while they're in college. They think that education is their only savior and that they can just kind of mess around in college and then get stuck in a job afterward. And there's nothing wrong with being stuck in a 9-to-5 job. If that's what you love, then by God, do it, right? But definitely thank you for setting an example for those people that truly want something more out of life, that want to be in control of their own destiny and want to make an impact on the world. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on today. It was fun chatting.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you next time right here on Brandon Poole Elevation. So thank you, Connor.